Yeah. Hey, do yo. Trophied up. Yeah. Hey, do yo. Trophied up. Do your dance when the G's up. G. Spaced out, got me geeked up. 10 toes on the west, can I beat us? You cannot. Shining every time they meet us. Rack 'em up, since 96. Yeah. Been number one in LA, something slight, that's the gist.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Talking Galaxy episode. If you haven't, we just created a group chat like right now. Pretty sure Tab posted it to his story. If you want to stay up to anything Talking Galaxy related, go to Galaxy Runs LA story. You want to talk about that a little bit, Tab?
Yeah, so I just created a group chat just to kind of bring the community together because I felt I can't really connect with you guys. So I thought, what better way than to connect on Instagram? Because I feel like that's the main platform. So I got that up. Check out the story. I'm pretty sure I tagged Talking Galaxy and Buzz on it. So you can get to the Instagram account through any of our pages.
Yeah. So if you're looking for any more Galaxy, Talking Galaxy exclusive content behind the scenes, we'll have something special. We'll make sure to make some sort of incentive to
We'll do
be.
some giveaways and stuff in there. So
Yeah.
join up.
Yep, absolutely. So make sure
Hold
you
on.
join up.
I'll leak some, not leak, but I'll give away some, not give away, but I got some cards given to me from a fellow G, and we're gonna be doing a giveaway pretty soon. We got some Pex, we got some Royce, we got an Aude, Yoshida, we got everything. So that's coming out soon. But you guys get the exclusive before everyone else. So that's a surplus of being in here.
Then how are we feeling about Liverpool and
Okay,
Barca
you
today?
can Barca. I wore the jersey, got to represent because it's a good result. Obviously, we didn't get through
A good result.
because it's the fight that counts. I thought that we showed some fight. On Liverpool, and you guys showed no fight. And
Okay.
Cody Gakpo is going to be joining Club de Cabral soon. I saw.
I don't think he makes the Club de Cabral roster, if I'm being completely honest. Man, the fact that Rio Ngamo is not starting for Liverpool at this point over Cody Gakpo is a little ridiculous, but that's a story for another day. I would prefer not to speak. That game, it is what it is, man. I mean, we're terrible this season. Barca are terrible, but luckily
We're first
they're
first in La
playing in
Liga.
an easy league. They're playing in an easy league where their only competition is Real Madrid, who are also terrible this season. So,
They're always bad. I mean, that team's just god awful.
always bad.
Yes.
Always bad's a little crazy to me, but yeah, neither of our teams are really kicking it right now, which is it's fine. Liverpool will win the UCL, and we'll go forward from that. But one thing that we do have in common is the LA Galaxy. It's the one thing that can unite all Galaxy fans, regardless of what your European team is, your Liga MX team. It's the Galaxy, and we're actually starting to put some results together. We'll just dive right into the first leg. This is a non-result. Oh, that's actually just a graphic. That's the intro right there. But this was more of a non-result. This felt more like a loss than it did a win. Was a 0-0 draw to Sporting San Miguelito, which, all things considered, was very disappointing when the Galaxy put out a first choice lineup. I felt like they went all in for this game, and I predicted 5-0. I think Tab predicted 4-0. We were very high on this team, just absolutely putting an onslaught. And that wasn't to disrespect Sporting San Miguelito. Man, they put up more of a fight than I could have ever expected. If you told me that we weren't going to win a single game between either one of these two legs, I would not have believed you. But we didn't, and we still advanced because of the away goal rule. A very boring match. I mean, it's hard to even talk about this. It was just like our defense is doing its job. Greg Vanny, I saw talking in a press conference about the fact that they had like a meeting with all the higher ups in the Galaxy front office, and they're talking about the fact that they know this team can score goals, but it's going to come along. The defense is just on a different level this season, and you really saw it here. I don't really recall any major chances Sporting San Miguelito had in this game. It just felt more like a lack of an offensive display from the Galaxy. I think our wingers were performing very poorly. There wasn't much service up to Klaus. But what did you see from this game, Tab?
So the fun thing is, on last Tuesday when we had our podcast, we were previewing this game. I said Galaxy were up on one goal technically through away goals. I was like, technically speaking, Galaxy can sit back and defend, and we would still go through, thinking like, oh, we're gonna smash these guys, and you don't even need to like worry about having a 0-0 draw. But lo and behold, it's a 0-0 draw, and we go through. So I thought that was kind of a funny thing. But I saw a lot of alarm bells going off from a lot of Galaxy fans. I think a lot of Galaxy fans are very in the moment, and they're like, "Oh, okay, we tied a game versus a Panamanian squad, so we're god awful." But considering the circumstances, obviously it's not a great result, but it's a result that does its job, and we go through. So I was extremely mad, and I still had optimism going into Charlotte, and lo and behold, we smashed Charlotte. So I thought there was nothing wrong with the result. Obviously, you want to get goals against the Panamanian side and kind of show off to the fans. But I guess the show just came a little bit later at the weekend. So I'm fine with
Yeah.
the 0-0.
I was thinking about this. I feel like the fact that we have this podcast on a Tuesday is almost a good thing. Because if we had a podcast between this game and the Charlotte game, I promise the whole conversation we would be having today would be so much different. Obviously going through is the main goal. I mean, it doesn't matter whether, you're a team that won. I think Philadelphia scored like 10 goals between their two legs. They absolutely decimated a team.
Cincinnati scored 13, I think,
Yep.
in aggregate.
Yeah. So whether you score 13 or 1 like us, either way, you're going through. So that's the important thing for the Galaxy. I think the 2025 team probably loses this game. I don't think our defense is good enough for it. I don't think our defense last year was good enough for it, up for the test. And to give credit to Sporting San Miguelito, I thought that they played this game with the right strategy. They came into it, they wanted to be very defensive, and they wanted to, just catch us off on a single individual chance. And they just weren't able to do it. They weren't able to really create anything because of our back line. But I mean, the fact that this game was going into the 90th minute and we had a chance to be eliminated on just a single goal from them, I mean, all credit to them. They put up a great fight. For that to be the case over 2 legs against a Major League Soccer club, I believe their whole squad value is around 1 Lucas Sanabria. Their whole squad value. So for them to put up the fight that they did, I mean, whether you want to take it as a critique on the Galaxy that we should be performing better, which is the truth, we should be performing better, or whether you want to give props to the other team, I think you got to find a middle ground where, you could give them their flowers and be like, okay, they put up a really good fight, but also be like, from our perspective, we do need to lock in a bit here. We do need to lock in. And going into the Charlotte game, I think there's a lot of question marks if we're going to win that one. Especially knowing that Charlotte's defense notoriously is good. So what I took from this match, I mean, a lot of frustration from our DP wingers. Joao Klaus, I haven't really had an issue with. I felt like he didn't get much service like I talked about, but just felt like Peck and Paintsel were playing once again without confidence, without end product. And how many times have we seen that from players that are combined making, I think they're combined making about $5 million, and the transfer fee is about $20 million for them. So the Galaxy invested a lot in these DP wingers. And when they're not carrying your team, how long can it be before you're like, okay, I know Ricky Puig is out, but this can't be an excuse any longer. You have Marco Reus, you have Joao Klaus, you have 3 designated players on the field. You got your replacement DP. It needs to be better. And like I said, that's just the perspective going into this match. Obviously, it changed because of Charlotte. We'll give this team its flowers when they deserve it. And when we talk about Charlotte, we will. But this match was disappointing, and it shouldn't have been as close as it was. There's, with all due respect, with the amount of money that AEG invests into this team, for as smart as Will Kuntz is and how good of a coach Greg Vanney is, it needs to be better. And I think this is something where I hope the Galaxy lock in going to Jamaica, because you can never pencil anything in as a win in CONCACAF. It's CONCACAF. There's upsets every round, and we don't want to be that team. So I really hope they have a sense of urgency going into Jamaica. But yeah, how do you feel?
It's going to be another kind of similar situation where we're going into Central America. It's going to be, probably dry field. You're going to have the ball bouncing. You're going to have the ball not moving as fast as it does at the digs. And we're just going to have to deal with it because that's just CONCACAF and how it runs. So, CONCACAF, these games, they're never easy. Like you're saying, there's always some kind of factors that you don't think about when you play into it. Maybe their fans in Jamaica are throwing off fireworks the night before to make you have no sleep. You see a bunch of wacky things, and that could be something that happens. So, in these games, you never take it for granted because last year we literally lost to what country was it from? Remember?
Herediano,
Herediano,
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. That's right. Yeah. So I mean, we have a history of not performing well in Central America. You could say a 1-1 draw is a good result in Central America for this year, but
Yeah.
in this upcoming leg against Mount Pleasant, we start the series at home and we travel away for the final leg. So like we're gonna have to get our business done the first leg. So hopefully we don't poop the bed. Sorry, I missed some bad language in Jamaica, and hopefully don't embarrass ourselves.
Yeah. And you kind of talk about going to Mount Pleasant or going to Jamaica and playing Mount Pleasant. This isn't a feat that's going to be easy for the Galaxy by any means. Going into going into their home, anything could happen. Like you said, it's like a FIFA career mode type of situation that would come up. The fireworks exploding outside the hotel, all of your players lose their energy before the game. But those are real life situations that happen. You've seen a lot of weird stuff happen in CONCACAF, but this team's bare minimum is the quarterfinals. We talked about that going into the season. I think the Galaxy need to be a team that is playing probably against Toluca in the quarterfinals. That's always what we expected. And we need to hold true to that. We need to be able to be playing against Toluca. I remember the Tigres series. When you talk about playing the first leg at home, I believe we played Tigres at home the first leg, and we held our own. It's just when we went back to Mexico, it wasn't enough because you're going to need a big, big, big showing at home, and it needs to happen. If we come back to Jamaica for leg 2 and we are tied, I'm not going to be feeling great about it. I won't. I genuinely won't, because anything can happen in Central America, and these are the type of games that you can't underestimate. Mount Pleasant, they're a top 4 seeded team in CONCACAF for a reason. There's a reason why they got a bye in this tournament. But at the end of the day, it's squad value, it's squad quality that should prevail you through, and the Galaxy need to actually play a lot better. And someone made a point on Justin Haak that I did want to cover. I thought he's been very underwhelming so far. Justin Haak doesn't move the ball in midfield, but makes the offense stagnant. I do agree.
Me too.
I think generally, for as good of a player as Justin Haak is and how everybody across Major League Soccer wanted him, I was a bit surprised that we got him after we got Gillespie. That didn't make much sense to me, because Amiro Garces, for as boneheaded as a center back as he can be at times, he's quality. He's starting caliber. He is not a guy that you're going to sit on the bench 34 games. Not going to happen. Justin Haak, on the other hand, we have like 3 starting caliber center backs. And these are like penned in guys that should be starting. So they move Haak into the midfield. He didn't break out in the midfield. When he was playing midfield for New York City SC, he was kind of a nobody. He was kind of just like a little niche name that probably only New York City fans knew. When he broke in as a center back and he changed his position, he became a household name among Major League Soccer. The fact that we moved into defensive midfielders, it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment, and I'm still banking on him coming good. But the fact that he's not playing as well as we know he can, I think, is just a result of his position. I don't think he is a defensive midfielder. I don't think that's where he's best at, and I would hope Greg Vanney experiments with him at center back, but without benching Miro Garces or Jakub Kolesnes, obviously.
Yeah, I got a similar idea with you. Yeah, like I think that similar to whoever said that in chat, I think that he doesn't really fit the Galaxy midfield. He doesn't fit the kind of profile that we need as a 6 man in a double pivot. you see Surreal and you saw Winder this weekend. Those guys know how to play the six as a double pivot for the Galaxy. I think Winder just adds that physical capability. We'll go into the game later, but I thought he was fantastic, and he was one of my man of the matches. Just the way he pulls off possession and then turns under pressure is just it reminds me of like a Sergio Busquets. But I'll rant about him later. But back to Hack, I think that he isn't suited for the Galaxy midfield. Obviously, saw last year Snobber kind of went through the same thing where he struggled in the midfield. So maybe it's a similar situation where he just needs to get a year under his belt under Vanny Ball. But I mean, I agree. He's been super underwhelming considering that he was one of the most highly rated free agents going into this offseason. So hoping to see a little bit more from him,
Right.
and also want to see him play center back, like you said.
Yeah, and just to look at the lineup here, they went with JT, which is obviously not a surprise. I'd expect him to start against Mount Pleasant. They went with John Nelson at left back, Maya Yoshida, and Jakub Galesnes at center back. And I think that pairing's been fine. For as much of a down year as Maya Yoshida had last year, I will say that he's looking a lot better this year. He's looking like a solid depth rotational center back, and he's doing his job, taking some minutes off of Amiro Garces. And he's a serviceable guy there right now. Mauricio Cuevas at right back, I thought he had an okay game. Edwin Soria was my man of the match. I think that he was excellent. He was really dominating the midfield, and just the space that he takes up. I thought, him and Justin Haak obviously didn't have a great game, but I think Soria was definitely carrying the workload in the midfield. Marco Reus was also starting alongside them, and he's not a guy that's going to be able to track back for you. But Edwin Soria was getting stuck into those tackles. And it's funny because, and I'm very glad that Greg Vanney experimented with Soria, Haak, and Sanabria midfield, I believe, at Charlotte. That was very good. That was a very good midfield pairing. And I think that is probably the way forward. Right now for the Galaxy, as much as Marco Reus is a class player, I just feel like he's better off the bench at this stage of his career. And Nascimento ends up getting a red card in this game. There was a little scuffle that happened at the end. And Nascimento, I saw a clip. It didn't look like he really did much.
Yeah, he put his hands around the guy's neck area. But
Yeah.
there's also someone went after, I think it was Peck, I believe, and he had his arms around Peck's neck. I'm like, okay, so
And
giving
Soria.
us mentor red. Maybe it's true. Someone had San Miguelito. They had their hands around someone's neck, so I was just a little confused why he didn't get red as well. Maybe Riff didn't see it, but I mean, you got VAR for a reason, so.
Right. I literally have a photo somewhere of somebody having their arms around Soria's neck, and it's as clear as day. And Nascimento ends up getting the red card there, which means that Joao Klaus is going to have to start against Mount Pleasant for the first leg because Nascimento will be unavailable for that. Just one of those weird things. I would expect that Nascimento would have started otherwise, if I'm being honest, the first leg at least against Mount Pleasant. It is what it is. I think Joao Klaus is just, you sign him as a designated player. He's going to have to play the majority of your minutes. It's just going to have to happen. Your DPs, if you want to be a successful team, are probably going to have to play a good chunk of minutes for you to be competitive in Major League Soccer or CONCACAF. But first choice lineup from Greg Vanney was a little surprising. I know it's a knockout game. I know it's an elimination game, but I thought that he would still feel confident in our ability to get a result. Even with a second choice squad against this team. But, he put out a first choice lineup. I don't mind it. And then against Charlotte, it seemed like he did a little light rotation, which is also to be expected. But we have some Marco Reus news. We kind of touched on Marco Reus a little bit there. Marco Reus has signed a contract extension with the LA Galaxy. This deal will keep him through December of 2027. It seems like it's going to be a team friendly thing is how the Galaxy kind of phrased it, is that it's going to be team friendly. Royce loves LA. You could tell. I assume this comes with a significant pay cut for him. He's been very good at times. Class is permanent. I believe it was the game against New York City, our first Major League Soccer game of the season. He had that worldie of an assist. right to Joao Klaus within like the first 3 minutes of that match. Marco Reus still has it in him. My only issue with this contract extension for Marco Reus, and he's a legend of the game, so he absolutely, he deserves it. If he continues playing this way throughout the rest of the season, I would have had no issue with it. My only issue is I feel like it's a bit early. I feel like it was a bit early in the season to get this done. And I'm sure Will Kuntz wanted to do right by him, which is why I'm assuming it happened when it did. But for me, I think that you should have waited until the end of the season. For somebody as injury prone as Marco Reus is, he's 36. He'll be 37 by the end of the season. For someone as injury prone as Marco Reus is, I would want to see how many games he can play this season before I sign him up for an extension. You never know. I mean, look how close we were last year to just parting ways with Marco Reus at a point. I think it was in May. They were talking about the fact that the Galaxy were very close to just throwing in the towel on Marco Reus because of all his injury issues. And now in March, the start of March, the season is barely going. We played 2 MLS games. They've signed him up for December of 2027, where he'll be 38 years old. That's excessive to me. I would not have done that right now. It feels early. It feels early. You don't know how many games he'll play. This, like I said, if he keeps playing how he is and he's available for around, 25 matches, 20 to 25 matches, I think is a realistic expectation for Royce. I'm fine with it. But if you find yourself in a position where Royce suffers an injury, he's one of the most injury-prone players probably of all time. That's his whole career has been stained and plagued by it. For as class of a player as he is, you're going to be kicking yourself for this deal. You will be kicking yourself for this deal regardless of the salary amount if he gets another injury. That's why I would not have done it right now. I'm a little surprised at the timing. But maybe it was something where they had a mutual agreement before, like the Christian Ramirez thing when they signed him up. I know they were talking about a Royce contract extension. His agent was talking maybe like October of last year. Yeah. So, maybe this was something that was already done and they were just waiting on it. But I would have waited until the end of this season or close to it to see how he's doing injury-wise, to see if he could play you 20 to 25 games, because he's going to be 38 by the end of this contract. And I could only imagine the state of his body by that point. So your thoughts, Tab?
I see where you're coming from, but I also think, you don't really know because you don't know what the actual contract is, and we won't know that until I think pretty soon the salary comes out, I believe. I think it's sometime this week, if I'm not mistaken, the salary guide where it shows all player salaries for the season. So we should begin that soon. But anyways, it all depends on the number on that contract. I think if it's a high number, then I'll be like, okay, why did we resign him? But if it's a low number and it's feasible for our team and it helps with salary cap, I think it's a good deal. You have Marco Reus, and football legend, on your bench, because eventually when he's on that contract, Ricky's probably gonna be back. He's gonna be playing and hopefully healthy, knock on wood. And you just need him to play off the bench and kind of play that position that he played in the 2024 season when he was so good. Come in when everyone's legs kind of tired and just kind of show his class, like you kind of said, class is permanent. So, it all really depends on what that number is, and we'll find out that number soon. So, I think from the outside looking in, I think it's a strange one because, like you said, the injury history, he didn't start at the weekend versus Charlotte. Maybe that's for tactical reasons or whatnot. So maybe he's fallen out of favor with Vanny. I thought the midfield was fantastic for Charlotte.
Right.
The midfield's 3 absolute dogs, like one of the comments said in my match takeaways. But so I was really surprised. I was really happy with that. So maybe if we run with that, Royce comes in late in the game and does this thing similar to 2024 season. So we'll have to see.
More than likely took a pay cut. My only question is, and I would like to throw this back to you in a second, Tab. For a guy making almost $1.2 million, what's a realistic pay cut that's going to actually make sense for a guy that should just be coming off the bench? Because I feel like even if it's $700K, that's still a lot of money for a glorified super sub at this point, and our midfield is looking better without him in it right now, without him starting in it. And I love Royce, but what do you think's a realistic amount? Because the amount that I would take him back for another year is very, very low. Like I'm talking like 300, 400, maybe 500K, and I just don't see him taking that much.
You want him on the supplemental roster, I see.
Yeah, basically.
He's gonna be on VCSC part-time now. But I think it's 700 because what he's making 1.2 now. So I think anything around 800, maybe 700, I think is fine. Because I think Cerrillo's around that number. But obviously he's a starter, so we're probably gonna have to pay him more when his contract runs out. So I think this deal gives us flexibility to play with money in the future for other people's contracts. So you can't really criticize it too much because you're looking at a blank canvas. You don't know what the number is, so we'll have to see on that.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it all depends on the figure. The number I threw out, I obviously jokingly could never see that happening because he's making $1.2 million. They could frame it as team friendly, but that's probably going to be like 800K. What can that money do for you? I think within Major League Soccer that's around Justin Haak level caliber free agent. So would I spend it in a different place? I mean, probably, but that's a Will Kuntz thing. And this is all talking in hindsight. And then, on this point, Zavaleta was making like league minimum for like all of the seasons that he played. It's not really comparable to a guy that was making is making $1.2 million. And even if he takes a pay cut to around 800K to come off the bench, it's just a very, very expensive backup. But he keeps Ricky happy. So, everything's to keep Ricky happy at this point. We all love Ricky. So I'm okay with that. We'll open it up to the chat for questions. So make sure you guys send your question in the chat. But yeah, Royce, this is a good point. I think Royce drives in a lot of jersey sales for the Galaxy right now. I mean, I don't see as many people getting like a Peck and Paint Seal kit as I'm sure there is probably people internationally that want a Marco Royce Galaxy kit. He's not he's a marquee name within soccer, but he's not like an icon of like, a certain region, like other players that have been brought to MLS within you've had your Chicharitos that are just going to sell you so many jerseys because it's Chicharito and he's a Mexican icon. Royce is more of like it's a Dortmund thing. You get all the Dortmund Galaxy collaborations I love because I think Dortmund, are a very respectable team. And I like to see the Galaxy collaborate with them on this type of thing. So, and then we have a question. I'll throw this to you, Tab. Do you think we can beat Toluca if we beat Mount Pleasant, and assuming we play them in the quarterfinals?
It'd be a tough game. Toluca is obviously doing well to start is it Aperture right now? Or is it the other one? I don't know.
I don't even know how Liga MX works.
I'm not in tune with Liga MX, but anyways, I think they're having a good start. They're one of the top teams in the conference right now. And they beat us last season. So, also in the 2025 season, we're also pretty bad if you don't remember. And we took them to the final minutes. So I think we will put up a good fight if we get to that point. Obviously, we got to get through Mount Pleasant. So you got to take one game at a time, like Blessed Painsil saying. That sounds like something our main man Painsil would say as well. So maybe you got some relation there. And going back to the Marco Reus thing, I think he does sell jerseys. I remember when he first joined, some random Dortmund fan texted me in German saying, "Should I buy this jersey?" And it was the 2024 away jersey with the green. And he was never going to play in that jersey because at the time he had the retro kit. So there is the fans that come in from Dortmund, but I don't think he's as well-known name, similar to like, how Messi's selling out stadiums, how Sun's bringing in some fans for LAFC. I don't think it's that kind of level, but you also see some fans trickle in from Dortmund to say, "Oh,
yeah,
that's our guy."
Yeah, I'm not I think we have to get this clear. It's not talking about Royce not being an icon as a player. He's definitely an icon as a player. I'm talking about him being, a guy that's going to sell you the jerseys like a Messi or Hyung. I mean, Messi's on a different level, but like a Heung-min Son, like that kind of market, a Chicharito type market, I don't think you get from Marco Royce, but you still get a huge influx. Compared to the other players on the Galaxy, that's a name that's going to sell you jerseys. So I would assume that they're probably making about what his salary is in jersey sales for Royce kits. Maybe I'm overshooting that a little bit, but it's not on him as a player. Royce is obviously a Bundesliga icon. It's on him as a profitable jersey selling type of guy. He's just not on that level, but I'm sure he does it at the same time. And then on the Toluca thing, over 2 legs, probably not. I know Toluca, I guess, isn't as good as they've been in previous seasons. It's the start of the season, and I could be completely wrong. I don't keep up with Liga MX like I should. But it seems like they're not top of the league. I think Chivas is top of the league, right? And you got all the
check that right now, actually.
players. Top of Liga MX right now. Why are people assuming Toluca beats San Diego? Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't, but I think Toluca will beat San Diego. I don't think the Galaxy can beat Toluca over 2 legs. We could probably get a result from one of those two, probably the one in LA, but beating them over 2 legs, I think, is a very hard feat. Is it impossible? No, it's not impossible. I wouldn't bet money on it.
Speaking of Toluca, they're actually playing a game right now, and they're tied versus Pumas. Okay. But right now they're second, and it's the Clausura. Clausura? I don't know how to pronounce that.
Okay. Yeah.
South Apertura.
How many points do you think we'll get this year? Over 45? Yeah, I definitely think it's over 45. If I had to guess, I would probably say around 51. If I had to put a number on it. What are you thinking, Tab?
Let's see. I think we get over 45, but I think that's a pretty good line, I feel like, to bet on. It's a tough one. Obviously, I have to look at previous like last year's table, see what the kind of point range was and what 45 points got you in the table. So I'm not 100% sure, but I sure hope we go over 45. But
I feel like 45 is below playoffs. It's like playing, right?
Let me look it up.
And then, but I think it'll be over. And then on this question, do you think Klaus and Peck would lead us to a high place and maybe a title? Probably not this season, but Klaus as a TAM player next year could probably, if Ricky Puig comes back good. So go ahead.
So RSL got the last playoff spot to get into the playoff or play-in game or whatever, and they're on 41 points. So I think it's over 45. So
what was the 7th seed?
7th seed was 44.
Oh, huh. That seems like
to get a home playoff game. That was Minnesota that came 4th, and they were on 58 points.
Okay. Oh wow, 58.
Yeah.
There's no way we get a home playoff game. I don't think. I'm gonna stick around 51.
Now I got some info, so I'm gonna go. You said 51. I'm gonna go 55.
Okay. The margins are so thin in MLS, though. Like that could literally be the difference between probably like 7th or like 4th. Is those like 4 extra points? So that's why even these early season games actually matter. I know everyone's like, it's the last 10 games of the season that matter. These games actually do, because the points add up by the end of the year, and that could be the difference between you making playoffs or not. So yeah, on this question, Tab, yeah, probably. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think they'll lead us into a playoff spot, but a title is kind of crazy.
Yeah, this season.
I think time will tell, but I think it's not crazy to say that they might lead us pretty far in a playoff run. But I don't know if a title run is on the cards for this team, unfortunately. I think we have to see how Tommy fits into the squad. I think if he can do good, he can be a solid piece and maybe propel us into the home playoff spot that we're kind of talking about. But I think João Klaus is a great addition, first of all. I just don't know if it's enough to get us over the line from being a 14th place squad to a title winning squad in 1 year span.
Yeah. Next year, I could see it in the first like full season that Klaus comes back on TAM. You have Ricky in the midfield again. However they end up building that team, it seems like everything's setting up for 2027. But this year, I think it's a little overkill. When it talks about playoffs, I feel like it's more so our defense carrying us to a deep playoff run that I would expect Peck or Klaus to individually. Defense wins championships, which wasn't necessarily the case in 2024. But I will say, if we had that same defense that was playing that first half of the season, like the Rose Bowl and before defense of 2024, I don't think we win MLS Cup. For as shaky as we were on set pieces, I feel like collectively as a unit, 2024, that back line really locked in that second half of the season. Including playoffs. I felt like they were locked down. But obviously, you score, I think, the most goals that have ever been scored in postseason history, at least at that time. And, then all of a sudden you don't need as much defense when you're scoring 6 against Minnesota, So who wins the West?
I don't think I want to answer this question.
Yeah,
I think I'm in big trouble. But to be fair, those guys have some guys on loan that are playing pretty pivotal parts, so maybe they drop off. But I think the two teams are in the front running for it are teams we don't want to say and give praise to.
Yep. Don't even want to mention their names on this podcast. You guys can fill in the blank for yourselves. I think the level between those two teams and everyone else in the West is just significant right now. And I don't see anybody else really competing, but the playoffs are a different story. The playoffs are always a crapshoot. So, you never know. You could get a bad matchup, and that could be it. Let's see. Any other questions before we move on here? Where is Haak's place in this team? Middle or center back? Both ideally, and where Greg will fit him in. Tab?
So I was listening to the post-match press conference from the game versus Charlotte, and someone asked about like where Haak's kind of sitting, or I think there's a question about Garces, and he's saying there's so much depth at center back. So he was saying that Garces was dealing with an injury, and we'll talk about this also later. But basically, he got to Haak eventually, and he's talking about Haak and saying that he hasn't even seen Haak play center back yet in a game situation because the center back depth is so there's so much center back depth. Is what I'm trying to say. So he's also kind of hinting towards playing him at center back. So maybe we'll see him at center back. But we kind of mentioned it earlier that he kind of isn't the Galaxy type center midfield for Vanny Ball. So I don't know if he can kind of fill in this role for Cerrillo or maybe Winder. I thought Winder was fantastic in the Charlotte game. So it's tough times for Haak. I think obviously you've seen Sanabria. He's struggled with in his first season playing center mid for Vanny Ball. So Haak is probably in the same position. Vanny Ball isn't something we can just get thrown in there and play fantastic. Winder's hinting at it in his post-match press conference. He was saying that, it was a big learning curve for him coming from USL to MLS and playing under Greg Vanny because, he asked a lot for center mids. And you see almost every center mid that comes into a squad that hasn't played under him previously, they kind of struggle. They need some time to get learning about the system, and there's a bit of a learning curve. So I think that's kind of where Haak is for the center mid position. And, I think hopefully in the Mount Pleasant game, he gets some minutes at center back because I think that'll be a true test to where he will play in the future.
Yeah, I think Vanny sees him as a center midfielder right now, like a center defensive midfielder. Is that where I'd play him? Probably not. But at the same time, it's hard to work in a 3-back or a 5-back, considering the wingers that you have. It makes it really weird tactically to set up that way. It just doesn't seem like anything that realistically teams could have success with in Major League Soccer. I know Vanny won MLS Cup with Toronto FC with the 3-back, but I think those are different circumstances because he didn't have Peck and Paintsell on the wings. So I think it's a bit different for as much as we're like, just play a 3-back. It's a little more complicated for me. But I think he's just gonna have to learn center defensive midfielder. Like, it's just gonna have to happen. I do question why they brought him in as a center defensive midfielder. It always felt like it was either or. Like I said, and I'll bring it up again. When they signed Jakub Kolesnis, Haak was off my radar. Haak was just an afterthought to me because I was like, oh, okay, like we got our marquee center back. Like, this is it. This is great. This is fine. We signed Justin Haak, and I was like, oh, formation change then? And they don't change formation, and they play him as a defensive midfielder, and it's really just not working so far. Took Sanabria a year it seems like he's finally starting to adjust to it. Maybe Haak needs a year, but I'm really hoping it comes quicker than that for the amount of salary that we're paying him. He's a quality player. It's not a quality issue with Justin Haak, and I know that. So I'm hoping that he steps it up a bit, and I want to see him in that center back role. And there needs to be depth. There needs to be pressure. I don't think, for as good of a center back and for as pendant of a starter as I make him seem, Amiro Garces needs a little push in the back right now. He needs somebody that's going to challenge for that spot. And, if he keeps making stupid, immature decisions, then he'll sit on the bench for a few games. And you have Justin Haak, who can competently play that role aside Jakub Kolesnis. But right now, it can't happen. You have to see how the season develops. Injuries happen, things happen. It just, right now, Justin Haak seems like he doesn't have a role as a starter right now. He's going to need more time to adjust to this Vanny ball system. And then, we'll move into the Charlotte game. We've hinted at it a lot. We've referenced it a lot, but the LA Galaxy pulled off a 3-0 win against Charlotte FC. Lucas Sanabria opened the score in the 8th minute. Joao Klaus with the brace in the 11th minute, and I think the 13th minute. Man, this game was over like in 15 minutes, which is crazy. And this is what you want. You want to just start a game so hot that you put the team to bed, and they're like, okay, we're just going to focus on finishing out this game and nobody getting hurt and us going back home. And that's what we did. We packed them up very quickly. And we were like, okay, you guys can mentally get prepared to go home. We'll just take it easy, play a little possession Vanny ball, make sure we don't overexert ourselves. We're a little tired. We played a lot of games in a tight stretch for the Galaxy, and they did that. They just, man, what a display. It was Brazilian Heritage Night, and the Brazilians were on fire.
They showed up.
Yeah, this was Peck's best game of the season thus far. Best game in probably, if that stacks up to 2025, probably would have been one of his best games of 2025 too. It looked like 2024 vintage Peck again. And Joao Klaus this guy's a different animal. When we signed him, there was a lot of talk about him not being like a pure goal scorer. I bought into that. More of like a false nine type of guy, but we'll pop up the stat right now. He's leading Golden Boot alongside Julian Hall, and it's very early, 2 matches. This is nothing to overreact about, but you have to give him flowers. You have to give him credit. Where credit's due, and he's done his job at an exceptional level. He's finishing, it feels like, every chance that he has. His physical presence in the air is something that, once again, we haven't had in so many years. His connection with Peck is instant chemistry. You just feel it. And you couldn't have asked for anything better. I mean, the Sanabria goal just ends up being a tap-in off of a Peck hitting the post. Got to be in that position to score it. So, it is what it is. That was, he was in the right position. That's what you want to see more from him. And I thought he had a great game. The back line, once again, I saw they voted for like February Player of the Month, and I think Joao Klaus won it, which I don't have an issue with, but I personally voted Jakub Kolesnis. That would have been my vote, because how revolutionary he's been to this back line. I feel like as long as we're alive, we could have so many Player of the Month votings, and everyone's just going to vote for the guy who scores the goals. It's just always going to happen. Everyone sees goals and they're like, oh, we love goals. We're just going to vote for Klaus because he's scoring. I think Galesnes has been every single game. He's been a contender for man of the match for me. This game included. If we didn't score as many goals as we did, I think he would probably be man of the match. Once again, held it down on the back line as he's been doing. Another exceptional performance from him. Going to the lineup here, you had Novak Mitrovic in net, which, once again, not a surprise. There's no real goalkeeper competition there. Julianade at left back, Jakub Galesnes at center back with Maya Yoshida. Obviously, Amiro Garces suspended for this match. I was a little surprised that Justin Haak wasn't finally given his turn at center back. You had Miki Amane at right back. I thought he had a good game. Lucas Sanabria in the midfield alongside Edwin Cerrillo and Elijah Winder, I believe it was. And then the front three, Paintsill, Peck, Klaus. This is a first choice lineup for the Galaxy, in my opinion. As close as it gets, the only thing I would substitute is Maya Yoshida and probably Miki Amane out. But they held their own in this match, and they look like different players than they did last year. So, Tab, what'd you take from it?
I can't say anything bad about any of the players that played in that game. Even the subs, I mean, obviously they didn't do a whole ton because they came in pretty late, but I thought everyone played their part. Everyone did a great job. Obviously, Glesnes and Klaus can get their flowers for, doing their jobs good. But I want to point out a player that I thought was fantastic. I mentioned him earlier in the podcast. I want to talk about Winder. Winder, this was his first game back from injury. He played 65 minutes or something like that. And man, he showed why we missed him in that San Miguelito game. He has so much composure. He reminds me almost like a Sergio Busquets kind of player. He turns with such ease. He holds off pressure from every angle. I think he was our key piece that we're missing in that San Miguelito game, because you saw with Justin Haak, he doesn't have that ball progressing kind of mentality that I think Winder has. I think that we're seeing that with Winder, and he's taken a leap up. So Winder is my underrated man of the match. Can't give him enough praise for him. I thought he was fantastic. I thought Lucas Knauber is great. He's having his kind of redemption arc. It is a good game. I honestly couldn't have asked for anything better. For the third goal, I was literally turning around, and then all of a sudden I see Klaus on a breakaway, and we get a third goal. So I'm like, oh, sick. I was trying to upload all the goals, and one goes in, I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta upload this. The second one goes in, I'm like, oh, I'm still uploading the first goal. And then the third goal goes in, and I'm still uploading the first goal still because the Wi-Fi is trash in the stadium. So I was like, that is crazy. So
Yeah,
it's a super cool game, cool experience.
An onslaught, man. It felt like a fever dream. Like, just the fact that they're able to go up so much in this game. I was so early. I was like, wow, this might end up being like a 6 or 7 type of goal game, and I was really just like, wow, the sky's the limit for this team right now. But no, seriously, it's different right now with the Galaxy, and Greg Banny talked about it, and I think you're finally kind of seeing it as the offense putting it together. I think this season will also boil down to the offensive efficiency, because I don't think the defense is going to be the issue. It's not. It really comes down to the production that we get from our designated players, and this was everything that you wanted. I mean, ideally, you'd want to see a Paintsill goal or something in there, but barring that, this is it. Lucas Sanabria is building more and more confidence every game. Elijah Winder, like you talked about, man, he came around second half of last season, and he has not turned back. I think he's won that starting job in the midfield. I'm looking forward to seeing him again against the Rapids. He's been revolutionary to this Galaxy team, and we only signed him from like $300K for the USL. So it just proves that some of these younger guys can come up, and I really like that the Galaxy took a shot on Elijah Winder. And at first, he looked more like a developmental project. They gave him his time with Ventura County. They sat him in the rotational mix, and he finally came back into the starting fold, and he's proven why he was as highly, touted as he was, why they said that he was the better brother. And he really is proving it right now. So I loved watching him play. that whole back line collectively, man. I mean, Mai Yoshida, he's back, it seems like, to a solid form. Miki Amane as well, I thought performed excellent in this match. Julian Ade does his thing too. Man, I can't pinpoint a single player who really had a bad game. And that says something. They got their work done. They got to clock out early. You got to get some of the younger guys minutes towards the end of the game. Like Ruben Ramos Jr., who you're gonna owe me a 101 jersey.
No, he's got 180 minutes to go, and I don't think that's happening.
It's gonna happen. I think getting some of these younger guys minutes is very important too. It's like one of the underrated things that you could take from this match is like a Harper Miller just getting more MLS minutes. Getting more minutes under the belt is just such a huge thing for the development. And obviously it's like quote unquote garbage time minutes like you'd see in the NBA, but it means something to these players. And you don't get the opportunity to do that because if this game's 1-1, you're probably not bringing in Ruben Ramos Jr. Needing a goal. It's just not going to happen. But all things considered, just a great result from an LA Galaxy standpoint. So I'm very proud. I'm very proud of that. And it seems like we're starting to finally piece some things together offensively. Next match, Colorado Rapids. The Galaxy are going to play against the Colorado Rapids on the weekend. And this is an interesting one. It's in altitude. Historically, we don't do very well there. Obviously, the playoffs in 2024 is just different. Everything in 2024 was just against the grain of what the Galaxy had been. Besides decision day, that just always seems to stay the same for us, no matter how good we are as a team. But we haven't had much success in Colorado. Getting an away point, I feel like would be a good result out of this match, given everything. You win your home games, tie your away games, and you're going to be a pretty good team. Obviously, there's going to be a few losses sprinkled in there, but that's the general formula when it comes to Major League Soccer. So going into Colorado, obviously you want 3 points. It's just going to be a tough match. I think you're going to start to feel some of the legs of playing as many games as we have. Lineup prediction for this match, I think you would expect Novak Mitrovic to start. I think you'll see Julian Ade in at left back again. Amiro Garces, I think, will be alongside Jakub Golesnes. I think you'll have Miki Amane at right back. And I think they run the same midfield. I think Reus, once again, comes off the bench. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. And also Reus in altitude, no thank you. Just give him 20 minutes and have him come off the bench. And maybe if we need a goal, he can be someone that, scraps one for us. But I would go with that same midfield of Cerrillo, Sanabria, and Winder. I think work very good. They all seem like they're, a well-oiled machine when they're in together. And then Peck Paintsil Klaus. I'm totally good with that lineup. Would you make any predictions or changes to that?
I'm gonna go Yoshida to Garces. I'm not sure if Garces is fully healed. I know Greg Vanny spoke in the post-match presser saying that Garces was kind of dealing with an injury and needed like 7 to 10 days, I'm pretty sure the medical staff said. And that was
really
this is after his red card. So he had the week off last week and probably a little bit more into this week. So I don't know if he's gonna be fully fit for the weekend. We'll have to see. But I think if Garces isn't playing, I think that you have Yoshida playing there because I think that partnership of Yoshida and Glesnes, it worked fantastic. They had next to no shots on target, but you could say that with the same thing versus NYCFC. So I think any partnership with Glesnes, I'm fine with. As long as Glesnes is in there, I'm good. And then speaking on Colorado and my predictions, we've kind of had Colorado's number these past few seasons. Obviously, had the playoff absolute run out where he scored a ton of goals on them over the 2 legs and knocked them out. Last year in 2025, I'm pretty sure we lost at their place, but then we smacked them at home with our B team. I think we had I remember Harbor Miller goal in that game, and we ran out the kids, and they put the belt to them. So I think you could see maybe another win. And if we do, similar to what, where is it? In the chat right here, this could be a statement win and kind of, oh, that's a Jamaican team. So a statement
That's
win in Colorado. You know, I almost had. I saw the first part. I'm like, yeah, if we get a statement win in Colorado, that's good. So I think if we win in Colorado, it kind of puts the league on notice, similar to what I kind of said earlier.
Yeah. It should be interesting. It should be interesting. I think Colorado, yeah, I think you're all right. I think Wander did have a goal in that match against Colorado last season. That sounds
That's right.
about
Yeah.
right. So maybe you'll get the young guys getting some rotational minutes too. You know, if they have their number, then shoot, call them up. If Garces is injured and not fully fit to go, then yeah, it will be Maya Yoshida instead of Justin Haak, probably at the center back role. I would expect that to be the case. I mean, and I'm fine with that. I think this is totally okay. We will have a live watch along for that match as usual. We always do for any of the away games. But yeah, it should be interesting. It should be interesting because I want to see our offense consistently produce. We had a great goal. You know, we had a great game. It was just a goal onslaught against Charlotte. Perfect. I want to see that again and again and again and again. It has to happen consistently through this season. It can't be one of those things where, you know, we have a couple 0-0 draws, maybe we score one goal and then we score three. Like, this team needs to be producing with how much money we've invested into the attack. I mean, all three of our DPs are on the front three. It needs to be like this pretty much every game where we're putting up at least 2 goals, I feel like. And if that's the case and the offense does their job, I have no doubt that the defense will. Obviously there's the occasional breakdown, but I feel like it's only off of set pieces and crossing type plays that we just haven't figured out after all these years under Greg Vanney, which is a little crazy to me. Colorado, I believe, came off of a win last week.
They beat Portland, but I mean, Portland's they're off and on. I don't think they're very good this year. They got, or at least Portland, they got a decent forward kind of group that they have. But then everything else, it's kind of just unknown quantities in MLS. You don't know what you're going to get from them. I'm pretty sure Portland beat to Columbus in the first game of the season, and then they went to Colorado and they struggled. So you never know what you're going to get going to Colorado with the altitude there. I'm pretty sure last season over there, Peck kind of struggled and he didn't have his best game. So hopefully he can kind of change the tide and put the wrongs right and get a good performance. And I think that'll be the key. If we can get Paintsel and Peck going early, get the goals early, and then we don't have to kind of use all our energy late in the game and kind of push ourselves in altitude, because that's never a reason for, and never leads to success. So I think similar to every game we started, I think we need to get a goal early, get a couple if possible, and hopefully we can sit on, because altitude is never easy.
Yeah. Players to watch for Colorado. Oh, go ahead.
Check the weather. Someone just said snow game in Colorado.
Right.
Fact check that.
Yeah,
right
that could be another thing that makes this just a messy task for the Galaxy to get 3 points out of. You always see that pretty early on in the season. You'll get like your snow games in RSL, your snow games in Colorado.
So Friday in Commerce City, it's gonna snow, but on Saturday it says sunny. A sunny day of a high of 48 degrees.
Perfect.
So, yeah. Hopefully we're gonna clear.
Yeah, an LA team playing in 40-degree weather. This is gonna be great. At least it's sunny though. Snowing would have been a much different story, I feel like. But Paxton Aronson for Colorado, obviously they brought him over. That was their big marquee signing. He's going to be probably a menace in the midfield. That's a battle that that's why I think that you put out your 3 most gelled in midfielders to each other, is because they have a good midfield for themselves. They have Josh Atencio, who they brought in alongside Paxton Aronson. And there's certain things that, Colorado's front 3 really is kind of average within MLS, but I think their midfield is really good.
Yeah. And they brought in, sorry to cut you off.
No,
they
you're
brought
good.
in, they have a new coach, Matt Wills, who is Tottenham's assistant coach. Obviously Tottenham's doing pretty bad this season, so who knows whether he's any good, but he led them to the win over the weekend versus Portland, like I mentioned earlier. They also brought in Rob Holding. If you're a sicko of the Premier League, you probably know him from the quarantine days from Arsenal. He also played at Crystal Palace. He's kind of a roadman over there in the Premier League. So No, they got some decent pieces. They got Reggie Cannon, former U.S. men's national team player over there. They signed. Oh, they actually scored a goal off a corner kick, and they look pretty dangerous against Portland through set pieces and corner kicks. They got a guy from Brisbane Roar, from that's an Australian team, and he got a goal over the weekend from a corner kick. It's almost like a Jalen Neal type of build. He's kind of lanky, but he can get up there. So I think a key to not conceding is probably set pieces because that's where they look most dangerous. Holden got his head on a couple crosses, and Pantemis had to make some good saves for Portland. So definitely get good on set pieces. And considering our history of set pieces, if you can see that, I wouldn't be surprised if it's through a set piece.
Yeah. It just seems like, I mean, at this point, it's not even an issue of the bodies that we have in the box for set pieces because we have tall builds. You know, you have Jakob Galesnes, you have, you know, Justin Haak when he's, you know, in the fold. You have guys like Mai Yoshida that can get up for headers. It just seems like tactically we've never been sound on set pieces, or it seemed like we've had an idea of what we're doing. So yeah, if we do concede, it probably will be from a set piece. This team, like I said, doesn't get broken down much in open play. It rarely happens. You know, they don't like go through the middle and play some tiki taka ball and then, you know, have a great, you know, just have a clinical finish on us. It's usually just from some cross that they just get a head on. We don't mark enough. You know, we don't do our job when it comes to that kind of stuff, and it ends up biting us. Those are goals that, you know, we just can't afford. It's a lot of self-inflicted stuff for the Galaxy. Historically, you know, at least when it comes to 2025, it's not as much of a quality issue as it is, I feel like, a tactical setup issue. Just maybe a thing for Greg Vanney, you know, to talk about. But either way, I think the Galaxy will come out with a result out of this match. I guess we could go into predictions. Predictions for this match. I think the Galaxy will end up drawing 1-1. I think we'll come from behind.
He took my predictions, so I gotta change it up.
Okay.
No, since I'm gonna go draw as well, I'm gonna go 2-2. I think it's gonna be a tightly contested game. So I think if we come out with the draw, I'd be absolutely fine with 1 point coming home. Because we got midweek versus Jamaican squad Mount Pleasant at home, and then following week we have Sporting Kansas City on Saturday the following weekend. So we got games coming thick and fast. So I think just taking points we can get them obviously is going to be great for this team, and also helps build momentum going to games coming forward.
Yeah. And a point's not a bad result. People always overreact. There will probably be individual plays in this game where we could have came out with more, but there will probably also be moments that Colorado could come out with 3 points in this match as well. So I think all things considered, a 1-1 draw or a 2-2 draw would be a fine result away. And you go back home and you put all focus on Mount Pleasant and advancing to the quarterfinals. CONCACAF is a tournament that we probably don't have a great chance to win, but quarterfinals needs to be the bare minimum for the Galaxy to have a successful season. And I think the whole coaching staff knows that. Getting a win at home is going to be huge. We're going to need to finish our business against Colorado first. And I think that the Galaxy, my goal scoring prediction, I'm going to go with, I think it's going to be Klaus again. I mean, it's the boring pick, but I feel like it's the right pick. Maybe you have something different.
Originally I was gonna go 1-1 as well, but I gotta change it up just because we can't have the same predictions. So
yeah, of course.
2 goal scorers. I'm gonna go Klaus, and then I'll go a Winder. I think he got a goal for the Galaxy against Colorado last season, so we'll have him repeating history and get another goal.
Okay, yeah. I'm with it. I think the Galaxy will end up, probably conceding from set piece, and then they'll come in the second half, and I think Klaus will end up getting a goal, and then I think both teams will end up just packing it in at a point. We'll sub in some younger guys like Harbor Miller and Ruben Ramos Jr.
Not Ruben. We got Eric Tommy. Eric Tommy is going to be good for this game, so Tommy's going to get minutes over here.
He was good for last game.
Yeah. And he said in the press conference, he was saying that he went around with the young guys, and I'm pretty sure he said Tommy's only had like 1 full practice under his belt, so he said having a full week of practices. Obviously, this week they'll have a midweek game to worry about, so they can actually do practices. So Eric Tommy's going to get a week of practice under his belt, and I will bet money on it that he'll get minutes. I don't think he starts, but I think he probably comes off the bench and yeah, does some good stuff. I'm very high on Tommy. I think he'll be a good signing.
Me too. He seems like a cheaper Diego Fagundes, and
Yeah.
I did like Diego Fagundes' contribution as a Galaxy player. So, it could be a thing that he comes off the bench in this match. He's available if we needed him last game, but I 100% wholeheartedly agree that Greg Vanney should not have brought him off the bench. If you're able to rest him for one more game, you do that. We're in a position where we're up 3-0. Why would you risk bringing him back a little too soon and risking re-injuring him? It'd be stupid in a match that we've already had in the bag. So letting him rest for the game and putting in all the younger kids, no issue. But I'm assuming this game's going to be close. I don't think we're going to blow Colorado out the water. Granted that it's going to be close, I think you'll see Eric Tommy at a point probably around the 75th minute. It seems like Greg Vanney's always progressively season by season waiting longer and longer to make substitutions. But I think he'll log a good 15 minutes. We may need him against Mount Pleasant, at least in one of those games to start. So I'm looking forward to it, though. It's a new signing. We haven't seen play yet. We were really interested to see how he fits in the mix. I think it's good to take some minutes off of Paintsill, probably. I think Peck's good to go 34 games, but Paintsill, you've seen a lot of hamstring issues from him. And ever since he signed as a Galaxy player, it feels like he's picked up a couple knocks over the course of the season. I don't think he's a guy that should go all 34 games starting. For as good as a designated player as he is, you don't want to wear him out by the end of the year. You need to take some legs off of him, some mileage off of him. And same goes to Peck, but I feel like it's a little more urgent for Joseph Paintsill, especially when you're going to need him for CONCACAF. That home CONCACAF leg, I think you need Joseph Paintsill for. So obviously, maybe around the 75th minute, you could take him off and throw Eric Tommy in there. That's what I would do likely. Yeah. So let's see. Anything else?
Speaking of tens that we have been linked to, I got some news on Coutinho.
Okay.
So over the weekend, LA Galaxy released the Kobe Club episode, and on this episode, Will Kuntz on it, and he was talking to Kobe Jones, and Kobe Jones towards the end of the podcast was kind of hinting at, I think he said he saw some rumors on Twitter or on social media saying that we're interested in Coutinho, and he brought that up to Will Kuntz, and Will Kuntz, he kind of blushed a little bit, and he was stuttering on his words. He was thinking of what the right thing to say was, but he pretty much said, to sum it up, there is fire behind the smoke of the rumors. So the Galaxy we're interested in him. It was then reported from COG that they were looking at Coutinho during the same time they were looking at Tommy, and they brought in Tommy, it looks like, instead. So it's looking likely that Coutinho will not be joining the Galaxy, unfortunately. I think some fans have different opinions that maybe he shouldn't join. I'm in the case that he probably should join. I'm a big Coutinho fan. Obviously, got the Barca jersey on. I got a Coutinho Barca jersey somewhere in my closet. But, I thought it would have been a good signing to get some, more legs into the midfield. I think Reus he's kind of limited to what he can provide playing full 90s. So I thought Coutinho would have been a good deal, but it looks like the steal was kind of in the past and probably won't come to fruition.
Tommy over Coutinho. I would, as a player, no, but I would take Eric Tommy, probably salary and system fit wise, over Coutinho. And I know it's funny right now. Well, not funny that he's injured, but it's funny that I'm about to say this while he's injured. But I think Tommy will play you more games than Coutinho will. And you're going to need somebody, especially a depth piece, that is going to come in and be available whenever you have a Paintsill or Peck injured or suspended or whatever it may be. If you need to rest them, I think you could rely on Eric Tommy more than you can Philip Coutinho. There will probably be other suitors in MLS for him. it's not a deal that we should be looking at right now. I think his best days are long behind him. I think there's a question of his work ethic. Take the most unmotivated guy you know and throw him in Los Angeles, and you're gonna see that he's gonna be even more unmotivated.
We saw that with a fellow Brazilian
Yeah.
that we don't speak of these days.
Right. It's something where it's like, okay, let's just back off on those type of things. I don't think the Galaxy need to risk anything in the locker room right now. Coutinho could be better than Douglas Costa. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think they'd be in a similar caliber type of thing. Granted, Coutinho would not be a DP. I think that would come under a TAM deal, but I don't think we have any salary available to us right now. And you could tell because by the time we needed international spots, we started making agreements to put up next year's allocation money into international spots. We're going to need international spots if we're going to side Coutinho, plus probably about 600K in general allocation money, if that, probably more. Do we have the funds for that? No, and I don't think the Ramirez deal changes anything. But
And that just rang a bell on my brain. So I think I mentioned earlier that this week we're going to be getting the kind of salaries for the players, but it wasn't the salaries, it's the GAM charts. So sometime this week, MLS told something in like a press release saying that the GAM will get released, the current GAM's like chart. So we'll see how much GAM we got in the bank, and then I'll kind of decide if any signings are even possible at this point.
oh man, surely people won't overreact over that.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty low, I have a feeling, because if we're trading away future GAM for international slots and only those being on loan, so we'll see. And I'm sure it's going to be a great overreaction from some Galaxy fans. Can't wait to post about that and see hundreds of comments flooding in.
Of course. And we will probably also be overreacting to it as well. So we're not
what we do. Yeah.
That's what we're here for, guys. Prime for prime, Douglas Costa or Coutinho. Definitely Coutinho.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, Douglas Costa is more like a streets won't forget baller. But that absolutely absurd transfer fee that Coutinho went from Liverpool to Barca for, I mean, it's clearly Coutinho. There's no way Costa at any point in his career could have went for probably half of that. So,
let's see. Douglas Costa played Juve. He played at Bayern. I think his best years are probably at Bayern. Obviously, there's that skill thing where he absolutely demolished his Hector Bellerin. But I mean, Coutinho, man, he was something different. His first season at Barca, he came in, I think, during the winter window. So that first quarter or first half of the season where he came in, man, he was so good. Obviously, I think in that year is when the incident happened at Anfield, so we don't talk about that. But I think he was he's a good guy, but I just don't think he fit the Barca project. What you said?
What incident, Tab?
No, I said we don't talk about the incident. So we only talk about the first leg. You remember that Messi free kick that he absolutely dunked on Allison? That was pretty nice.
Corner taken quickly, Origi.
I remember Dembele missed this a nice little tap, and that could have sent us through in the first leg. But I don't remember any of the second leg. I think
body
memory and stuff. Yeah.
Time anyway, brother.
Yeah.
It would have been Jover. It's got to be Coutinho. It just has to be. But at this point in this career, obviously his best days are behind him. But Costa's always going to be on the streets won't forget baller posts that you'll see every year. So that'll just always come around.
I saw a video of Douglas Costa. I think it was on TikTok or something, and he's playing 4th division Italian football now. And he's walking out to a stadium that probably holds less than my college stadium, and he was stinking up the pitch. He was trying to dribble past defenders, and he couldn't do anything. So no, his long days are behind him, and his best days weren't even at the Galaxy. So yeah.
You want to address this, Tab? Address the elephant in the room?
That was a dark time. Barca obviously were paying him still, and he dunked on us. Funny story, for that game, I was trying out for Barca's academy in Arizona, the Residence Academy, and that game happened the day of the tryout, and it was very dark that time. Like no one was very happy, obviously. So it was a strange. It's like a fever dream, like you said. Yeah, I don't want to speak too much on that.
Oh man, we're just running through you memory
Yeah,
lane of all of your
yeah.
worst
You
moments.
you
So
guys gonna have me get therapy or something. All
this
sports
is your
stuff.
therapy. This is your therapy, brother. Um, yeah, and then you have your loss. You know, you lost the series against Atletico Madrid. You got
Okay.
smacked 4-0 first leg. You're not going to make the final.
Okay. Can we flip the table around? What happened against Wolves today for you?
What?
Wolves. I'm pretty sure you Wolves
Yeah,
played
how's
against
West
either
Ham doing,
Liverpool.
Tab? How you
You
doing in
know,
that
we're
match?
we're not doing bad. We're not doing bad.
How
Obviously,
was that? How was that 5-2 loss to Liverpool? How was that for you?
you don't always take those games like very. You don't take them. What am I trying to say? You don't. You're not gonna win those games as a West Ham fan. You look at tomorrow's game against Fulham. Like that's the games we want to win.
You're
So
not beating
I'm
Fulham
not
either.
tripping against a loss versus Liverpool.
You're not beating Fulham either. Anyway, this is the
So, but
Galaxy.
West Ham, yeah, last thing. West Ham, we're 3 points or 2 points off. And if we win, we're 1 point behind Spurs. So, I mean, that makes it a whole lot interesting. So you should be rooting for West Ham. That's what I'm saying.
I would take West Ham staying up if it meant Spurs went down. I would more than gladly get you the Coco 101 jersey if that was the case. I think it would be hilarious to see Tottenham go down. And the fact that they're even close to the relegation zone is insane to me. And the season has 10 games left in it. So it's a little wild. Anyway, Galaxy podcast. I forget. And I mean, we're looking good. We're looking good right now. We're undefeated in the big 2026. It doesn't feel like it, but we are. It's only 4 games in. I'm hoping we can continue it. That, like we always talk about, when you're winning, it feels like you can't stop winning. Or I guess when you're unbeaten, it feels like you can't lose. But when you're on a losing streak, it feels like you can't win. And right now, I feel like the Galaxy are comfortable in the position that they're in, advancing to the next round of CONCACAF and, getting a good win against a solid Charlotte team. You're going to look back on the Charlotte team by the end of the season, and you're going to be like, okay, that was a huge result against a team that's probably going to be top 6 in the East, if I had to guess. So they're a quality squad. I think, man, Zaha got absolutely shut down. That was something different. That
Ever since
Galaxy.
he's been in MLS, I've never rated him. Obviously, his time at Crystal Palace is
Yeah.
very memorable, but he hasn't really done much in MLS, and that clip that Peck got on him is pretty nasty. I'm pretty sure that went viral on MLS. Not viral, but it got some good clicks.
Yeah, the nutmeg. And then,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
got
on Snapchat, Wilfred Zaha posted something saying like, I could buy your whole house or something, and I'm on MLS salary to some guy talking trash on him.
Oh man, Zaha's a personality, man. That's like a locker room cancer type of guy. Like, uh, you know, that's what you get from those big European stars coming to MLS. You talk about motivation. That's a guy who I don't think could give a toss if Charlotte are good or not. He just cares about himself. I got a good photo of Peck like torching Zaha and Zaha just throwing his hands up in the background. He was whining to the ref the whole game. I think he got a yellow card in that
Yeah.
match. He was frustrated. That whole Charlotte attack. They have quality players too. They have like Pep Biel. They have
Yeah, he did
Zaha.
nothing.
Yep,
I was
none of them.
surprised.
None of them. And they're honestly probably one of the better front lines in MLS, and we contain them, which is probably the first real test our back lines had. New York City didn't have a proper number 9. But this was it. And I feel like we stood up to it. And I think that's a big statement win for the Galaxy. So I'm excited. I feel like, okay. I feel like it's not exciting to see a Galaxy team having a great back line. To like the average fan, it's like, oh, okay, like we're gonna win 1-0, like we're gonna get a 0-0 draw on the road or whatever. It's not exciting. But to MLS sickos, to Galaxy sickos, I like seeing a good back line. Like I feel like this is probably quality wise, the best back line that we've ever had since I've been a fan. Probably dating back to the glory days when you had Omar Gonzalez, AJ De La Garza, all of those LA Galaxy
Bobby
cult
Meyer.
heroes and legends in the back line. This feels like it's quality wise up there with those teams. Not to overreact off of a few games, but I think we knew that coming into this season that the back line was going to be the strength, which is so weird considering we conceded 66 goals last year and it's just flipped on its head. But I am also proud of the front line for waking up, it finally seems like. So I hope we can continue that consistency going into CONCACAF and the Rapids game. That's a tough one on the road. It's going to be cold. A lot of nonsense and shenanigans can happen. Weather forecasts can change. That snow can get shifted to Saturday. Who knows? We could be playing with an orange ball.
That'd be so sick. I don't think Galaxy's ever played in a snow game because I was looking for pictures and I've never seen one. So
surely we have.
Game. No, I searched. I scoured the internet. Didn't see one picture.
Some Galaxy fan out there who's just an absolute sicko and it's been around longer than we've been alive will be able to pinpoint some random snow game in 1998. And that's just not
inaugural season.
Yeah. So, please send us photos if the Galaxy have ever played a snow game so you can prove Tab wrong. We'll feature it on the next pod. And drop your score predictions. Drop your score predictions in the chat. We will have a live watch along of that game. Tab, hopefully you'll be there for that. But I should be able to run that, I believe. That is Saturday, of course. The Galaxy will be on the road. Kickoff 6:40. Game scheduled 6:30. Kickoff 6:40 p.m. Obviously, I think Mountain Time's an hour ahead. So all of those great things. The Galaxy are back. We're back. Talking Galaxy's back. Make sure you like and subscribe right now if you're still tuning in through an hour and 21 minutes. Yeah, truly. Thank you guys for the support of the podcast. I've been to the games and I've seen Tab too. I've seen you at the games.
Yeah, both the games I've been to. You ran into me both times.
Yeah,
you like stream snap me or something. I don't know. Something's up.
I have a tracker on you. I have an air tag.
I won't be surprised.
I'm sure Vata does.
Yeah.
Either way, I've seen a lot of people at the games, and the support's been great at the podcast. So if you ever see me in person or see Tab in person, feel free to always say hi. And if you see Galaxy memes, tell them what's up from Cal State Long Beach. So you know where to find him. But Tab, where can people find you?
You can find me at Galaxy Runs LA on Instagram, TikTok, and X.
As for myself, I am Peyton_shot it. If you want to look at my LA Galaxy content, I do a lot of photography for Galaxians, whether it's the fans. They're a great supporters group. Shout out Galaxians. They're very underappreciated, I feel like, when it comes to supporters groups. They've been there since 1996. You could definitely feel the vibe in there. It feels like a family. Everyone knows each other, and whenever anybody new comes to that section, you always see them like go right up to that person who's new and make them try to feel at home immediately. So shout out Galaxians. It's been an honor doing photography for them, and I can't wait to continue doing it. So check out my work there. And at Anfield Headlines _. And then the final plug is our TikTok, Talking Galaxy. You could find us on TikTok or Instagram or on Tab's new group chat that we all have apparently. So
I mentioned at the start. So I put it on my story. There's a group chat for the Talking Galaxy crew. So make sure to type in there. We'll be posting kind of clips of our podcast. We'll be talking about what we're going to be talking about on the podcast prior to the podcast. So a ton of behind the scenes kind of stuff. So if you want to get more Galaxy news, definitely join that. I think I tagged Talking Galaxy Instagram and Buzz on it. So you can find that Instagram group chat through any of those pages and you can just join it.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you go support that if you want to tap in more at the Talking Galaxy community. Really love what we're building over here. Thank you all for tuning in through the whole podcast. Your support means the world, genuinely. And yeah, we can't wait to keep going throughout the seasons and build upon this podcast, and hopefully get this little StreamYard logo, our iconic StreamYard duck, off of that screen, so we could make it look a little more professional. Either way, thank you all for tuning in very much, and yeah, go subscribe to our TikTok at Talkin Galaxy, and yeah, have a good night, everyone, and G's up.